Young lad. Righteous. War can't buy great. Then craftsman so full of technique. Make him feel like someone good and then alright. Show up at them night, cause we hard clean. Enough of them say them a do it, but them not do it like we. On them know for what them hear about. Warrior there to what them hear about. Open up it, they can make it hear out. Anybody not the way them a feel clear out. Like switched up.
Hey guys. I am really sorry for not posting any videos for so long. From now on, I will do my very best to be consistent. With that said, I hereby present a new series. What if Goku was in the Invincible universe, Part 1. Also, please go ahead and follow my new Instagram account. Link in the description. Now, please enjoy nothing. Mark's voice was barely above a whisper, his gaze sweeping over the vast, desolate landscape. What once had housed buildings and life was now an unbroken sea of sand. This was the fourth time he'd flown across this transformed world, each journey fueled by a desperate hope of finding some remnant of civilization. Yet all that met his eyes was the ceaseless sprawl of desert extending to every horizon. He had felt the biting chill of the poles, though whether it was the north or south, he couldn't be certain. "There's got to be something out there," he murmured, clinging to a sliver of hope. But his thoughts inevitably spiraled back to the darker chapters of his past, the rage, the feel of his fists connecting with flesh, the man who had brought pain upon his family, who had threatened his mother and little brother. A heavy sigh escaped him as he clutched his temples, visions of the grisly act of violence he had committed haunting him still. He ground his teeth, willing the memories to fade, but it was too soon. I didn't mean for him to die," he admitted to himself, a hushed confession as he descended toward the sand-covered earth. Looking up, Mark noticed the stars beginning to twinkle as the sun dipped below the horizon. Perhaps there was something to find up there, in the vastness of space. Yet he dismissed the thought. Alan had mentioned something about a coalition a week's journey away, but navigating the cosmos was not his forte. His father had often reminded him of that. "Dad." The past few weeks had been nothing short of chaotic, and in the wake of the 8 tumultuous months prior, Mark had naively hoped for a return to some semblance of normalcy. But life had only spiraled further out of control. He had never expected to see his father again, not after the atrocities he had committed against him and his mother, not to mention the thousands of lives lost in Chicago. And yet, the man had the nerve to propose having another child with that infernal creature and had the audacity to ask for Mark's help. Despite everything, his father did have a point about one thing. Oliver. His half-brother. Mark's concern for Oliver was genuine. With the Cecil family's bugs neutralized by Levy, he held on to the hope that the GDA would notice something amiss and intervene to protect his mother and brother. With a weary sigh, he rubbed his temples, fervently wishing that no harm had come to anyone in his timeline. "What is that?" From his distant vantage point, gazing across the celestial expanse, he noticed a brilliant light piercing the darkness. At first glance, it seemed to be nothing more than another radiant star. However, as he watched, it became increasingly clear that this was no ordinary celestial body, but something else entirely, something that was moving toward him. Whoa! Words failed him as the light intensified, no longer a distant glimmer but a descending beacon. It approached with an overwhelming luminosity, and as it neared, the night erupted with a thunderous boom. The once far-off light now stood before him, its brilliance touching down like a celestial visitor, and from it extended a tunnel of light, a glowing passage reaching down from the heavens. And someone stepped out from it. "Hiya!" Goku's battle cry echoed across the field as he launched a powerful fist at his opponent, who nimbly dodged the strike and countered with a swift elbow aimed at Goku's face. But Goku was just as quick, evading the counterattack with ease. He created some distance by leaping back, landing softly on the soil. As he twirled his staff, a cloud of dust rose around him. A small smirk played on his lips. "Hey, not bad, Vegeta," he commended. Vegeta, the proud Saiyan Prince and now God of Destruction, descended slowly to the ground. arms folded behind his back and a scowl etched on his face. He wiped away a bead of sweat from his forehead before responding. Not bad, huh? It would be a different story if you weren't relying on that damn technique every time we spar, Vegeta scoffed, reclining on the grass. Hey, it's not like I can just turn it off, Goku retorted, an angelic aura hinting at his elevated status in Universe 7. He approached his friend, extending a hand to help him up. Besides, we didn't really have a choice, Vegeta, he added, his voice calm but avoiding eye contact. Vegeta, glaring at the angel, took Goku's hand. We promised, he replied tersely, before attempting another punch, which Goku effortlessly dodged. To never, Vegeta continued, his legs working in tandem to unbalance Goku as he blinked behind him. Talk about it. Fists raised, he launched another furious barrage, but his efforts were in vain against Goku, who now possessed the same divine technique shared by all angels across the multiverse. Goku dodged Vegeta's attacks with grace and, with a flick of his staff, delivered a deceptively gentle nudge to Vegeta's abdomen. It was far from gentle, though, as Vegeta coughed up blood before being flung toward their palace. Before the structure could suffer damage, Vegeta halted himself with a two-fingered technique, reappearing behind Goku in an instant. With his ki manifesting as a purple aura, he unleashed a destroyer's blast towards Goku, who simply flicked it away with a finger. Stop, Goku said softly. And that was enough. Vegeta, despite his anger, had to follow the command of his mentor. With a sigh, he dissipated the destructive energy and checked his outfit for any disarray. He had never been fond of the formal attire, but it was a requirement set by the Grand Priest and the Interuniversal Code. After ensuring they were presentable, the two warriors sat down. Goku planted his staff in the ground, taking a moment to address Vegeta not as an angel or as a mentor, but as a friend. We've been through this, Vegeta, Goku said, his gaze fixed on the dim forest that stretched beyond their planet. Vegeta exhaled deeply, pinching the bridge of his nose in resignation. We have, he admitted. Goku watched him silently. They had discussed this countless times. Centuries had passed, perhaps over 3 by Earth's measure, but to them, it felt like mere years since they had been ascended by Zeno to serve as the angel and the god of destruction. Maybe you could consider Beerus's offer. He did say you could hibernate for a year. I won't take the coward's way out just because we're destined to live for eternity. Vegeta snapped, gesturing emphatically with his hand. Goku returned his attention to the forest, contemplating his next words. It was a fate neither had chosen, to be the universe's protectors, their roles predestined before Earth's very dust had coalesced into a planet. Vegeta's raw power and Goku's purity of heart had been crafted not by their lineage but by destiny itself, ordained by Zeno, the king of all universes. The early decades of this new reality had been marked by despair for Vegeta and a wavering spirit for Goku. They had pleaded with Zeno to release them, to let them return to their loved ones, but they were only given insight into the grand design of their journey, a trial set by fortune itself. And so they stood, an angel and a god, bound by duty and by an eternal bond that transcended time itself. Shaking off the grass from his attire, Vegeta cast a meaningful look at his comrade before striding towards the massive structure that housed the god of destruction. I shall train alone, Kakarot, he declared firmly. Goku simply nodded, his understanding implicit. He knew that Vegeta would immerse himself in the grueling regimen of the celestial room, where gravity intensified to an extreme, millions of times heavier than that of any ordinary planet spread across the universe. Left to his own devices, Goku would then traverse the planet's surface, his solitary journey stretching endlessly until Vegeta's eventual return, when they would spar, refuel, and continue their symbiotic cycle. This pattern had become their shared rhythm through time. Goku often mused over Whis' incredible endurance, having withstood countless eons before even Beerus came to be. Now, with centuries behind him, Goku began to glean an understanding of the perpetual benevolence characteristic of the angels. He had initially believed angels were innately divine beings, a stark contrast to mortals. However, this belief was challenged when Zeno abruptly summoned Vegeta and Goku from their celestial reprieve, bestowing upon them new duties as Beerus and Whis were finally granted respite. The transformation had been profound. Goku's skin, now a pale reflection of his mastery over Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta, radiating the formidable strength of a god of destruction, marked their evolution. With a heavy sigh, Goku prepared for the long wait, setting his staff's timer for a century. "We will meet again in 100 years, my friend." After setting the timer, Goku swiftly manipulated the staff, scanning the cosmos for any emergent threats that might disrupt the tranquility of innocent worlds, or perhaps offer a diversion from the monotony that loomed ahead. Vegeta's century-long training has just started, and here I am, already bored, he mused, his gaze locked on the orb. He navigated from one sector to another, each housing innumerable galaxies, a testament to the vastness of their task. It was an expansive, yet preferable alternative to the solitude of the palace's empty halls. An hour passed without incident, the universe appeared calm, free of tyrants or conquerors threatening the balance of the galaxies. But then, within the 9315th sector, Goku's attention was snared by an enigmatic glowing orb, pulsating and shimmering with a rainbow aura. Such anomalies were typically left undisturbed, as they could signify either a harbinger of destruction or a miraculous savior. For gods and angels, these events were usually inconsequential. We, however, had been an exception. Before his departure, he had recounted tales of his solitary expeditions to observe these cosmic spectacles, sometimes even guiding entire civilizations towards betterment. It was astonishing to think that Whis, like Goku, had once embraced such adventures, only to grow weary due to the Grand Priest's admonitions against angels meddling in mortal affairs, as it could lead to dire consequences for the universe. But who says I must reveal my angelic nature? Placing his staff beside the celestial training room, Vegeta's celestial training room, Goku ensured it was secure. Vegeta never leaves his training, Goku thought out loud, but still, he engaged the staff's movement lock on the room's door. Should Vegeta emerge before the century's end, the staff would enable Goku's instantaneous return. Gazing skyward, a thrill coursed through him, a feeling reminiscent of the excitement he once felt before entering the World Martial Arts Tournament. Memories of a simpler time, when he was a naive youth hungry for battle, flooded his mind. He smiled, and with a flourish, his angelic garb transformed into the familiar orange gi, the fabric evoking a surge of nostalgia. Tears brimmed in his eyes as he reminisced about the battles fought and the life lived as Son Goku. "It's good to be back," he whispered. With a last glance at the orb outside the palace, Goku locked onto the sector harboring the anomaly. His heart raced with the anticipation of the adventure that lay ahead. Taking a deep breath, he ascended towards the heavens, then, with a burst of light and sound faster than the speed of light, he shot off into space and the embrace of the unknown. Meanwhile, in a secluded spot between a mountain and a forest, Vegeta stood with his arms crossed. His keen senses hadn't missed Goku's departure. "Humph, you thought I wouldn't notice, didn't you?" Vegeta smirked before sitting down, a gentle smile playing on his lips. He assumed a meditative posture. "You need this, Kakarot. Until we meet again, my friend." The two figures locked gazes, an exchange that seemed to stretch on for an eternity. Finally, the other broke the silence with a raised hand, his gesture a playful salute. "Hey, what's up?" Goku greeted the young man with a cheery tone. Mark was, to put it mildly, astounded. He had held on to a faint hope that someone from his timeline might appear, perhaps Cecil or Robot with their vast knowledge and resources. Cecil had the supplies, and Robot had the intellect to possibly manage teleportation. However, the individual standing before him was not who he expected, a radiant man adorned in an orange outfit, his wild white hair adding to his extraordinary appearance. His skin was pale, almost as if he had shunned the sun entirely, relying instead on an excess of skincare products to achieve a flawless complexion, never missing a day with an esthetician. Hi?" Mark managed to respond. Goku's eyes wandered around, taking in his surroundings with a hint of curiosity. "Wow, neat place you live here. A little too dry for my taste, though," he commented, his hand resting thoughtfully on his chin. Shaking his head in confusion, Mark replied, Wait. This isn't my home. Can you help me? I came here because someone was. His plea was cut off by Goku's interjection. Whoa, buddy, take it easy. Let's introduce ourselves first, Goku suggested, raising his eyebrows playfully as he extended his hand. I am Goku, and, I'm from the universe's I am. He paused, searching for the right words, adding to Mark's perplexity. After a brief moment, he brightened up with realization. Aha! Yeah, I'm an adventurer. In Goku's world, his reputation as a renowned adventurer and a formidable martial artist was no secret. He rationalized that he might as well embrace the role of an adventurer publicly, as long as he kept his full power in check. The Daishinkan wouldn't come looking for him, would he? He wouldn't, Goku assured himself, as long as he maintained a semblance of normalcy. Meanwhile, Mark eyed the offered hand before firmly grasping it. I'm Mark, not an adventurer by nature. And no, I don't live here. I got stuck, he explained, gesturing around them. Do you think you could help me out a bit? Goku raised an eyebrow and smiled warmly. Sure, man, I don't know what happened to you, but you must be hungry. Hold on, I brought these. He rummaged in his pocket and produced what appeared to be a fruit, offering it to Mark. They're insanji, from the home planet of the Kais. They'll make you feel full, heal you, and for a bit, you might even feel stronger. Mark inspected the golden, peach-shaped fruit, pondering its effects on a Viltrumite. Dismissing any concern, after all, his father had said an adult Viltrumite could endure even radioactive waste. He took a bite. Wow, Mark mumbled, his bruised eye feeling remarkably better even before he swallowed. Once he did, the lingering pains from his encounter with Anissa vanished as if by magic. Holy shit, he exclaimed, eagerly consuming the rest of the fruit. Its taste was divine, befitting its celestial origin, though Mark was unaware of Goku's true nature as an angel of his universe. Yeah, I know how you feel. When I first tried these fruits, I knew I had to have these trees at home too. Goku beamed, watching Mark relish the fruit. Oh God, that was the best thing I ever tasted, Mark said, his smile fading as the weight of his recent experiences returned. Sensing Mark's discomfort, Goku's playful demeanor softened. With a casual wave of his hand, he conjured a pair of comfortable chairs and settled into one, gesturing for Mark to take the other. Come on, I did say I could help you. We don't have to rush off to the nearest habitable planet just yet. Sometimes, it's better to address emotional trauma first, it can be more healing for the soul, he advised with a calm assurance. Mark, still reeling from the sight of chairs materializing from thin air, took a seat, his heart lightening slightly in the presence of Goku's benevolent aura. Clearing his throat, he began a new topic, one that seemed fitting given their extraordinary encounter. So, have you ever, read a good superhero comic book? Hours must have passed with Mark detailing his life to Goku, how he spent his first 18 years living ordinarily until his powers surfaced, transforming his existence from mundane to extraordinary. He recounted his struggles, the beatings from his father, his ongoing conflicts with the Viltrumite Empire, and the harrowing moment he was forced to kill Angstrom Levy. I just didn't expect him to die like that, Mark said, shaking his head. Every battle I've been in was a fight for survival. I'd often end up battered, lying in my own blood. As Mark reflected on his harrowing experiences, Goku listened intently. Their early lives bore similarities, but Goku's battles were driven by willpower and training. His motivation lay in protecting his loved ones and growing stronger to face even greater adversaries. Goku nodded, understanding Mark's sentiments. Man, what a life. I've lived something like that, Goku replied. I can't recall every detail, but I've faced my share of powerful foes. He chuckled, remembering battles so intense they left him unable to lift a finger. Each victory led to stronger enemies lurking in the shadows, which is why I never stopped training. Hearing this, Mark, with a hint of skepticism, voiced his doubt. What I'm up against now seems too much for me, let alone for someone else to handle, he said, the image of Anissa's overwhelming strength vivid in his mind. Goku's eyes lit up at the challenge. Hey, maybe I could help you out. I may not be able to fight like I used to, but I can still train you, he offered, mindful of the angel's decree forbidding him from killing. These Viltrumites sound formidable, Goku mused, a gleam in his eye. Despite his confidence, he knew he had to tread carefully to avoid breaking the celestial laws set forth by the All-King for angels. As Goku stood up, Mark watched in awe as Goku began to transform. His skin took on a more human hue, his silver hair settled into a more common style, and his once ghostly silver eyes turned brown. The overwhelming aura and alien features vanished, leaving behind a man indistinguishable from any other human. Wow! How did you do that? You went from looking like a high-budget anime cosplay to a regular guy, Mark exclaimed, astonished. Goku chuckled, scratching his head sheepishly. Sorry, buddy. It's been a long time since I've had to tone down my powers, he admitted with a grin. Mark raised an eyebrow, curious. Tone down. Your powers? Where are you from, exactly? You a great listener, Goku, but aside from your name, I don't really know who or what you are. Goku smiled. I mentioned I'm an adventurer, right? I like to help people. And it seemed like you could use a friend, he said, pointing at Mark with a gentle smile. Mark stared at Goku for a moment, then sighed and relaxed into his seat. Right. I mean, I guess so. He admitted, feeling a bit more optimistic and at ease with his new companion. Let's just take a moment to relax. I'm sure we'll figure something out, Mark said, finally allowing himself a measure of peace. Goku nodded in agreement, but his smile soon faded as his senses alerted him to a disturbance. He looked past Mark, focusing on the signs of an interdimensional uprising brewing in the distance. Mark, stand up, Goku urged with haste. Mark promptly rose to his feet and turned around, only to see a green flickering light in the distance. It bore a resemblance to Angstrom Levy's portals, yet its erratic behavior was atypical, sparking a mixture of hope and confusion in Mark. Moments later, the portal stabilized and opened. The figures that emerged brought a smile to Mark's face, despite his bewilderment. Robot was the first to leap out, followed by Monster Girl donning a bodysuit. Bulletproof appeared next, looking slightly aged. Beside him stood a bearded man wielding a hefty hammer, and a woman outfitted with boxing gloves. Lastly, a woman in a pinkish outfit emerged, bearing a striking yet mature resemblance to Adam Eve. Whoa! Mark walked towards the group, now recognizing them as the older guardians of the globe. The team's leader, Eve, approached Mark with a smile that soon turned to concern as she noticed his bloodied appearance. Mark, Eve began, examining him, you look terrible. With a wave of her arms, a pink glow enveloped them both, cleansing Mark's blood-stained clothes and replacing them with his usual casual attire. Goku observed from a slight distance, impressed by Eve's display of raw power. It reminded him of how angels manipulated ki to alter reality. Yet, Eve's ability seemed more direct and effortless, which piqued his curiosity about the strength of these heroes in Mark's world. And who is this? The question snapped Goku out of his contemplation. The Guardians were puzzled by the presence of another man in this desolate landscape, especially Robot, who found Goku's presence to be a logical anomaly. He's a friend, Mark interjected quickly, attempting to preempt any misunderstanding. He's helped me out here, and he'll be coming with us. Eve signaled the Guardians to lower their guard. Mark, we only came here for you, she said softly. Goku stepped forward, a chuckle in his voice. I'm sorry if I startled anyone. I was just passing by and sensed the disturbance, he explained. Mark admitted to Goku's offer of aid, his voice reflecting his hope that this stranger might be the ally he desperately needed. Robot, ever the voice of caution, warned of the dangers of introducing an unknown into their timeline. Eve, however, left the decision to Mark. It's your future, so it must be your choice, she conceded. With a nod from Mark, the Guardians stepped aside, allowing Goku and him to approach the portal. As they did, Eve hurried to catch their attention. Mark, wait, she called out. Turning to Goku, she added, I need to say something to Mark. In private, if you don't mind. Goku smiled understandingly and took a step back. Of course. Goodbye, Eve. See you on the other side, Mark. With Mark and Eve in private discussion, Goku faced the now stabilized green portal leading to Mark's home world. He knew he could solve Mark's problems in mere minutes, but that wasn't his style. Goku preferred a challenge, a journey akin to his early days facing Vegeta and Nappa. With a smirk, Goku stepped into the portal, excited for the adventure that awaited. Here I come. That's it, please comment for a part 2.